What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He is Cam Underwood. He is the managing editor of the outstanding website, State of the U. Go check it out. It's free. It's open 24/7, 365. Amazing content. Go hobnob with Cam and his staff at stateoftheu.com. I'm Brian the Beast London. You can follow me on the socials at Miami Radio Beast. You can follow Cam at Underwood Sports. And Cam, we're getting this out a day early so that we can discuss what is coming up this weekend, and that is the University of Miami spring game, once again being held down at Green Tree. And, well, I'm guessing they'll probably do it at Cobb Stadium. Yeah. But same general area. They'll be in the Gables this weekend. It will not be televised. No video is allowed because that's where we are. But I know some people were able to get some tickets and go down and are able to go down there. And obviously big donors will be down there and the media will be down there. Of course, it's Thursday afternoon and I still haven't got my press pass yet, but I'm sure that's coming any moment now.
But you're a VIP, man. You can just roll up in the spot.
Yeah, at one point in time, that's the way it used to be. Not anymore. I'm just a peasant like everybody else.
Look, you still know. I worked in the tutoring office, so I had to call all these different departments. So if you don't know, all of the numbers at the University of Miami are 305, 284, and then the extension. So look, I know that you have them memorized, and look that you're one of the favorite sons and everything. They don't got to send you the stuff. They know you. You're gonna go.
Used to be the case.
Shake hands
and
rub shoulders and all that. Like you just roll up and they roll out the red carpet like the T-shirt. You feel me?
Not anymore. Used to be. By the way, when I was on campus as a student, I don't know if this happened when you were there or not, or if it was before you. We had all the 284 numbers, but then we had to add the 689. Numbers because there was an addition, and then to call down to like the medicals, the medical school and all that stuff became 689, and then it got out of hand.
Right. Well, I was just talking about like the main campus, but then they transitioned all of it was like Rasmus and Jackson Medical. They did all of those as 689 numbers. So
and when we had our regular old telephone in the dorm room, you could just hit like 8 and an extension and it would call your buddy's dorm room. And it was just great stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But no one has that anymore. In any event, let's preview the spring game. And what I really want to get to and what everyone wants to talk about is, what we're looking forward to, what we're going to keep our eye on. I have 3 specific things in my mind.
Okay.
But they may be different than yours.
Ooh.
So we go like back and forth.
I like that. Let's
whip mine out and then
let's do it snake. So you go first, I'll go 2, you go your 2, and I'll go my last one.
You know what? So there's an easy one that I think is both going to be on our list, maybe. Okay. So I'm going to skip that as the first one because maybe you have that, and I'll let you get there. I don't.
Look, if it's low hanging fruit and everything, that's going to be right there for all of our listeners. Go ahead.
Obviously, with Carson Beck not throwing, he's not he's almost there. He's very close, but he's not going to. We're not going to see him throw in the spring game. So for me, it's which one of these 3 and really 2 guys at. Who have been getting the snaps at quarterback all spring look like they're going to be the number 2. And I was just, before we jumped on, I was reading some quotes from Shannon Dawson. He was really praising Emory Williams. And I am interested in seeing Emory Williams, but I still have a question in my mind about whether when we get to August, Emory Williams will be on campus. Not because I know anything. I'm just using logic.
Right.
So in that case, I really need to see Luke Nickel. I really want to see Luke Nickel and how he throws the football, how he commands the offense, how he does going through his progressions, all of that stuff, because I just don't have enough info in my brain about the way Luke Nickel throws the football. We really didn't see much of him at all last spring. Maybe he got a couple snaps in the spring game. I don't remember.
Luke Nickel's he's an early enrollee.
He was an early enrollee.
Yeah. You mean Judd Anderson?
Judd Anderson. That's a whole different story. But Luke Nickel, I don't have enough data on. Judd Anderson,
No, you're saying that's a whole different story. I wanted to drill down there. Yeah, like what are your thoughts there on Judd Anderson?
I don't have many.
Okay.
I mean, from what
Okay.
I continue to hear
Mm-hmm.
that he's really not the future at the position.
Mm-hmm.
And however that goes. So maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure he'll get some snaps on Saturday and we'll see him throw the football and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, until I hear otherwise, I'm not considering him in competition to be the number 2 quarterback until I hear otherwise.
No,
Maybe that's
fair.
wrong of me, but
Yeah.
I'm only going by what I've heard.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And I've said it, and I wrote about it on State of the U, and I've, said it on Twitter and many other places that there is a Jaden Rashada-sized hole in the quarterback room, where Miami had to take 2 developmental guys back to back in Emory Williams and Judd Anderson. Now I know that Judd Anderson, he is if you're selling T-shirts and jeans, like kid is 6'7.5", 230 pounds. Like he can throw the ball forever. He's super physically talented. He was like a 22-15 guy playing basketball until he quit playing basketball in high school. So, I mean, in like a Georgia 4A kind of situation. So like good competition. He was hooping. So you figure like this big physical dude, but like I mean, he has all of the God-given talent you could ever want. He has none of the developed demonstrable skills. And yeah, it's
So
I was just interested because you said it's a whole different story with him, and so that's why I was asking.
Well, that was my whole different story. Is I like, again, until I hear otherwise, I don't know that we're counting on him to be the heir apparent. But drill down on me the difference between having God-given talent but not the skills necessary.
Yeah, I mean, like you're born with it, he was born and he grew to be 6'7", 230 pounds with one of the strongest arms that you're going to see. Like that was just
okay. So where's the butt?
No. That's they are separate buckets. So that is the talent bucket.
Okay.
The skill bucket is, can you have repeatable techniques? Can you read defenses? Can you throw the ball accurately on time? Can you lay your like the skills of a given thing? Like in basketball, like can you dribble with both hands? Like if you're playing big down by the basket like he did, do you have footwork? Do you have touch? How is that jump shot? Like these are things that you learn over time by reps. Those are skills. He has the talent, probably not the skills. And that's just kind of a point of fact. But I do agree with you with your first thing that you're going to be looking at about the quarterback position, because it is the most important position in football, and we are transitioning from the single best quarterback season we have ever seen at the University of Miami to probably Carson Beck, but he's not fully healthy. And then, we got to see what's here now, because we need to see what's here now and also for the future. So that's a good one to lead off with.
All right, your turn. What do you got?
My lead off is on the other side of the ball.
Okay.
And it is hopefully the cure for what ailed Miami so badly last year and kept us from the ACC championship game and the college football playoffs and accomplishing all of the dreams, goals, desires that we had in front of us. The newly rebuilt secondary. I want to see it. I want to see it all. I want to see Xavier Lucas at 6'2", 200 pounds, looking like cornerback one, as what everybody is saying, invariably, inside the program, outside the program. Even the hater fans from Gainesville and Tallahassee and Athens and everywhere else who follow Miami like it's stronger than their own teams. Everybody is saying, yo, this kid is the guy. I want to see that. Zachariah Poyser, freshman All-American transfer from Jacksonville State, who's from South Florida. And from the very beginning, it's like, yo, he's big and physical, and he's what Miami was missing in the secondary also. I want to see that. And I just want to see everybody that is there in the secondary. I want to see Emmanuel Carnley, because he's 6'3", 6'4". I want to see Ethan O'Connor. I want to see these recruits. I want to see this newly rebuilt secondary looking like it's Miami caliber. Because with all due respect to the players who played in the secondary last year, that was not a Miami caliber performance. And I know that there was the one outlier in OJ Frederick, who was a freshman All-American, but even when the rubber met the road and the fire got really hot at Syracuse, he had his worst game of the year because they were able to exploit a thing that he does not do well, which is go up against bigger receivers at the catch point. And that's all they had, because their receivers didn't create any kind of separation, but they were big dudes. They were old guys, like, Oronde Gadsden Jr. Had been there for 5-6 years. So they were just in their 20s. They had that grown man strength, and they got to the catch point and they beat him at that point time after time after time. So, yeah, I say all that to say that I'm looking at the secondary in its entirety. And there are other guys whose names I did not mention, true. But that's where my initial very heavy focus will be on Saturday.
Yeah, so, you know what? I am totally in agreement with you about the secondary. And that's definitely a position as a whole that I will be watching. And there's a bunch of new faces there, and you mentioned a few of them that we need to get acquainted with, because I know Xavier Lucas is definitely one of them, and we're definitely going to see him, and we expect him to be a starter. But it's all the other guys and the young guys behind those guys at corner and safety that I really want to just get some, just see them get some run, see what happens, right? See what they look like. I haven't been able to, get an eye on them. I've only seen film. It's always no matter how much film you watch of guys, it's totally different when you get to see them in person, right?
Yes.
Because it's just you see how their body moves, you see their instincts, you see how they react to quarterbacks and wide receivers. It's just totally different. And when you're up close and personal, and hopefully it's the same situation we had last year in the spring game, where we were right on the far sideline, we were able to really see things really well. That's what I want to see, is how do these young guys react in this situation? And as I look towards the fall and particularly in that position of the secondary, I want to see if Zaquan Patterson can take the next step to be.
That's a good one, yeah.
I don't want to put him in the same air as some of the greatest safeties that have ever played the game of football, but can he at least get into that to that Cam Kitchens, James Williams kind of level, right? That's what we kind of expect from him. And he showed some flashes of it last year. We know he's physical. He's got to be more consistent. Hopefully he takes that next step. And I definitely want to see that as well.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and then you could extend that out with other guys, Dylan Day, pushing for starting snaps, the gem find from Louisiana from former defensive coordinator, Markeith Williams, now in his third or fourth year. What does he offer in the secondary? All those different kind of things. So yeah, true. All right. So that was one for you, one for me. So now we're going back.
You're back to you.
Started with me. Yeah. So reverse skip you back to me. My second thing that I'm going to be watching on Saturday or for the spring game that I'm interested in, this has actually skyrocketed up my list recently. And I know that this is going to be different, and I know that I need to see consistency from kicking.
Yep, that was going to be that was mine. We're there.
Oh no, I
went
differently because I thought
we're locked in. We're locked in on that. Yeah.
I honestly, I was going to go somewhere else, and I thought about it. I was like, okay, well, where I was going to go, I was like, okay, I think Brian, Jesus, I think you're standing there, so I'm going to go differently. But yeah, so we landed on the same square. Fine. But kicking is a thing that we have not had to worry about in 5-6 years since the Borgals kicking dynasty started with Jose when he transferred over and continued with Andres. I've called it that the entire time, bro. Just did. But the Borgals kicking dynasty is over. And so now we have, the transfer kid from wherever, FAU. And then we got a top recruit in Abram Murray, last year. And he kicked in a couple of games because, we were blowing teams out. But the reporting on, or the talk about the consistency from those players through the spring has not made me comfortable. And I will say that both have been more productive in terms of hitting kicks in their careers than was Bubba Baxa, who famously went 4 for 10 as a senior in high school, but did well at combines and camps and had a high ranking. And we all know how that went when he was here. Both Abram Murray and the kid from FAU, I forget his name, sorry, were very successful in making kicks in games in high school, and then even the kickoff specialist and part-time kicker from FAU. So they do have a history of success. We do have a history of developing great punting. Like, I'm not worried about that at all, because we coach that up.
Yep.
But place kicking and the entire operation of it has changed as well, because Mason Napper is gone after 6 years. I know that Dylan Joyce is still going to be the holder, but probably. But you have a new snapper. I don't know who that is. And I only knew Mason. Cool. Well, I knew Mason Napper's name because he was here for 6 years, literally. Right. But we have new kicker, new snapper. So we're rebuilding the whole kicking operation thing. And early talk is that there is much to be desired. So I don't know how much we're going to be able to see that, but that's my number 2.
The kid from FAU, I think it's Carter Davis, right?
Cool.
And when he first transferred in, I really felt like he was only brought in to do kickoffs. But since we have not had stability so far in the field goal game, I guess that job is probably wide open. So we will have to see how that goes. And I too am looking forward to watching kicking. And some would say, well, I mean, it's just a spring game and it's not really the same as going against. Listen, man, consistency is consistency, depth is depth, distance is distance. Like, let's see if these guys can nail some field goals. And listen, I know people out there might be, oh, that's stupid. No, it's not, because that could be the difference between a W and an L is a kick.
Well, there's that. I mean, look, you still got to make kicks. The thing where I'm looking at it from is not the micro of only making kicks. It's the macro of the team, because the way that you call your offense changes. You know what I mean? Like, once we got inside the 30-yard line or inside the 40, we're like, we can run whatever we want because Borgals is going to hit it from 55, right? But now it's like, okay, well, what do you call on 2nd and 9? Because I'm already thinking in 4 downs, because we don't have somebody who is automatic tick-tock clock, Swiss timepiece kind of consistency back there at kicker. So now it's like, okay, that field, which the scoring range last year for Miami's offense literally was crossing half field, like midfield, literally. Now with an inconsistent kicker, which is yet to be seen, but I'm operating in the right now, which is inconsistency, the scoring range is now inside the 30, maybe inside the 25, because at the 25, that's still a 42-yard field goal. Guys, that's not close, right? So that changes everything from how you run your defense and then how you run your off. Like, that can change the entirety of the operations of your team. So while it is like we have to remind people kickers are people too. And like, oh my God, well, I was hoping that Cam and Brian were going to talk about da-da-da-da. This is a small thing that is like that pebble into the lake that the rings rippling out can have massive, massive, massive impact. So like, yeah, it is a small thing. It's not a thing that we would always look at, but like, if it is inconsistent, then that changes a lot.
All right, so it's my turn. And this one, as I was going up and down the roster and reading articles and just going like, who are people talking about? I want to see Armando Blunt, because we didn't get to see a lot of him last year get run, but he definitely came in as one of the most heralded recruits, right? And he's a guy that Brandon knows well and had given me a lot of info on. And, he's got all the talent in the world, and now it's kind of his time. So I want to see, does he look like he's ready to step in and get a lot of time at that spot on the outside of that D line? And I'd like to see how his body is, right? I have not been down there yet this spring, so I have not seen these guys since the bowl game. What does he look like? Does he look like he's developed more physically for that position? I'd like to see that. So Armando Blunt is the next one for me. I know it's oddly specific, but it's something I've been thinking about as I've been, because I went through all the clips that have been coming out from the different practices and all the press conferences that they've had throughout the spring, and there was a lot of talk about Armando Blunt really getting more time and really starting to come into his own. So now I want to see it for myself. That's my next one.
I love that one. I'm going to expand on that to include basically all of the recent 5 stars on the defensive line.
Okay.
So Armando Blunt leading the way.
Right.
Justin Scott rebuilding his body, changing his number from 98 to 5, looking like he's going to be taking a major step as another 5-star in that same class as Armando Blunt. Marquise Lightfoot, who played on specials on coverage units, but he's he's a little bit light, but he's not Cyrus Moss thin. You know what I mean? He's not olive oil, and everything. Shout out to the Popeye cartoons. But he's another guy who's taking a big step forward as a 5-star, both from Chicago, like Justin Scott, and Hayden Lowe, this year's 5-star, who I saw the pictures of him before and after the offseason weight training from being an early enrollee in January. That kid is a cyborg. Like what his body did in 2 months from enrollment to the beginning of spring, just through the offseason program, was remarkable. So yeah, I'll just add those other 3 on there. So all of the 5 stars in the last 2 classes on that defensive line. Yeah, I would like to see it.
Can we just comment on the fact that I don't know if the audience can hear it or if you can hear it, but my landline's ringing.
I was like, you got a house phone. What up?
And I just want to comment on that for 1 second. And there's only one reason why I have a house phone, because it comes free with like all the other packages I have. So like, it's like, it doesn't cost me anything. I might as well have it, like, just in case, you never know. Like, and somewhere, I don't know if people know this, just a little heads up. But if the power goes out and your cell phone's not charged, you can go plug an old phone into the jack, like not like a cordless phone because that needs power, but like an old phone with like a wire into the jack, and you can still make a phone call. I know it's weird, but you can still do that. And so somewhere in a desk drawer, I have literally an old phone that is not a cordless one that I can plug into the jack just in case the power goes out and my cell phone has died.
There are so many young people watching and listening to this podcast.
They have no idea what
we're talking about. They don't remember the house phone in the kitchen that lived on the wall.
Like, of course.
Look, you and I are of a certain age. Like, I know that my younger cousins and people don't remember the rotary phone. I remember at my grandmama house, 4990 West Outer Drive, 313-324-3424. Or 342-3424. I remember, and it was a green one in the kitchen on the wall, and it was, you take it. Oh yeah, I remember all that. So
I remember
it's just funny hearing a landline because I don't know the last. I mean, I don't remember the last time I heard a landline.
Right? Yeah, well, you just heard one right there.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, nope. That's what I'm here for. Is all of that. So you mentioned all of the other big timers that came in that class, the 5 stars, last 2 classes with the defensive line. Is that your next one, or do you have something else you'd like to throw in there?
No. I was just kind of adding
piggybacking.
Piggybacking.
Okay.
It was, improv class. Yes, and I anded yours.
Okay.
So no. So that was you, me, you. Cool. No, so it's your turn for your third one.
Okay. Here's another one. Some people call him Raul. Other people call him Popo. Popo Aguirre, Raul Aguirre. Part-timer last year, saw some time, got some, and seems to be a team favorite
Mm-hmm.
Like when you talk to other players on the team about like who's a guy they all kind of cherish, Popo's one of those guys. I think everyone roots for him. And he's a guy. Look, we know about Wesley and what Wesley can do, and Wesley's going to move around a little bit at that linebacker position. So I want to see where Popo fits into things. If he could be more consistent, can he get more playing time? Does he play more snaps? Where does he fit in with everything? Because I think now is his time to get some run. But listen, Wesley's going to take over from Kiko, right? As far as being the leader of that group, and we have Cam Pruitt also, right? But Raul Aguirre is a guy. Popo is a guy that I've kind of. So over the last 3 years, Brandon will tell you that like almost on every show we did, I brought up Elijah Arroyo, and Brandon would like tisk me and be like, "No, he's always hurt. He's not going to whatever." And finally, that dude broke out. So I'm going to give that. I'm going to pass that good luck on to Popo.
Okay, I like it. And with that, we have now mentioned all 3 levels of the defense. So, in case you're wondering where a lot of attention would be paid, yeah, over there. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
And for good reason, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, Popo Aguirre, however you say it, is. I mean, he's a guy who played. He was the first guy off the bench last year. He had that fumble recovery for a touchdown at Louisville. And yeah, just stepping into a full-time starting role. And then, in my yes-anding ways, all of the other linebackers who were there: Chase Smith, Cameron, Bobby Pruitt, Bobby Washington, and the recruits, and yada yada yada. But yeah, focusing on Popo to step in for, as a one-to-one replacement for Kiko Mawinoa. Is a good place to lend your attention. So thank you for that. My third and final is probably one that people listening and watching are like, yo, y'all have to say it. Like, you have to say it. So I'm going to say it. Wide receiver. In its entirety. We've heard talk of JoJo Trader taking a big step forward, from himself, from Shannon Dawson, from Mario Cristobal, from other players. I want to see it. He's a very skilled player. He's very athletic as well. And there's the vacuum at the top of the roster there at that position. I want to see all of the freshmen. Dalen Upshaw, Malachi Toney, and Josh Moore have all been getting rave reviews. I want to see if there is any separation at slot. We know that Ray Joseph has, slimmed down from previous years. He was a little bit bulkier than probably needed to be, and he is not abdicating that slot position to Malachi Toney. He is fighting back. He is working for the spot that he wants and believes is his. So I want to see that comparison. And then CJ Daniels finally coming back from his heel injury and surgery. Is he looking more like the player that played at Liberty years ago, as opposed to the shell of that player battling injury at LSU? And any and everybody else in that room. It's funny, we have group chats and things. Yep. I was asking about Chance Robinson, like he's still on the roster. Is he anything? There's other guys there as well. But obviously starting with those top dudes that I all named, and just seeing how they work and everything. And I know that obviously, and well, I've said it before, Miami lost their top 6 pass catchers from last year.
Right.
So 4 receivers, running back, tight end. So there's lots of production to be replaced. But there's all the intangible things too. All the other work, right? Like when you just Xavier Restrepo finding open space in zone and being there. Xavier Restrepo and others blocking, for the running backs and that's usually how long touchdown runs get broken. Not just because the offensive line creates holes, which I want them to, but because the receivers continue to block downfield. So it's not just catching passes, but it's doing all of those things that earn you those times. So I would say, in so many words, wide receiver, all of those names, all of those things.
Well, and to take your Xavier Restrepo's, who has that clutch gene that it's 4th and 6 with 1:30 left and you need to, pick up a first down in order to keep a drive going to maybe win a game, who's going to be that guy, right? Who has that clutch gene that can get past the sticks, know where he is on the field, make a catch, fall forward, pick up the first down, and keep the drive moving, because that is a vital part of your offense when you're in a close game.
It is. I also just want to remind people that Xavier Restrepo fumbled the season away at Syracuse in that very situation.
Cam, why'd you have to bring us all down?
Sorry. I'm just saying, I know, he did a lot of great things and everything, but people have been very selective in their memory about that. And if it was another person, then they would have freely brought it up. So I am the unfortunate voice of reason. Sorry.
I agree, but for that one bad play, he had about 50 others that were great.
I know that he did, and I'm not discounting any of those, and I loved all of those and all the receptions and yards and touchdowns, but they do not erase
yes, I agree.
The other. That's all I'm saying.
I totally understand. All right. So there's a lot to look forward to for the spring game. We will recap it either on Sunday or Monday. And I hope to see some of you out there. If you're going to be out there, if you're lucky enough to have gotten the ability to go out there, we look forward to seeing you out there. If I get my press pass, we'll see what happens. If not, I'll just have to watch through a fence or something like that, or bring a ladder.
The top row, top floor of the parking garage.
Oh, I'm sure they'll have security up there, though. Definitely, without a doubt.
Just bring some pastelitos and croquetas, then they'll ignore you.
Yeah, I'll just bribe people. That's a good idea. All right. Listen, we've got big recruiting news and something that just literally, we're recording this Thursday afternoon in the 1:00 hour. Some news just actually came down about one of the biggest recruits in the country, if not the biggest. We'll have to bring that to you. We will do that on the other side. You're listening and watching the Real Ones Canes podcast. Welcome back to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He is Cam Underwood from State of the U. He's a managing editor of the State of the U. He's not just from there. He's the managing editor of State of the U. And you can follow him online at Underwood Sports. I am the Beast, Brian London. You can follow me at Miami Radio Beast. And I'm the managing editor of All Landlines Everywhere. That's a callback to the last segment. In any event, Cam, recruiting never stops. Recruiting just never stops. And Mario Cristobal told you this week, he's like, I don't care where there's a dead period. The portal's always open. The portal is always open. So you have it on two fronts, right? The high school front and then the portal front. It's a lot to keep track of. But we do have, it's not breaking news, but it's just kind of some big news as it relates to one of the biggest recruits in the country and someone that is definitely on Miami's radar, and Miami's on his radar. Tell the folks what we just found out.
Yeah, this is literally and figuratively one of the biggest. So the consensus number one player in America, Jackson Cantwell, 6'7.5", 315, 20-pound offensive tackle from Nixa, Missouri, is a player that Miami has been recruiting for a good long time. He is, a generational player at left tackle. He is, pretty widely thought of to be a top 3 player in America. I believe composite rankings from both On3 and 247 have him as the number 1 player in America, which is rarefied air. This is a guy who has announced his finalists previously, and he was going to take official visits to Miami, Missouri, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, and Georgia. Those were the 6. And he has taken a couple unofficial visits to Miami this offseason. He came down for a game last year also. Both of his parents were Olympic discus and shot put throwers, I believe. And the coach that helped them to their Olympic glory works at the University of Miami. So if you're wondering about that connection and whatnot, boom, there you go. And going through his process, Jackson Cantwell this morning quote tweeted his own tweet from February listing out his 6 finalists and said, might be closer than you think. Implying, hey, maybe his process is not going to go all the way through this summer, and he started to narrow things down. According to reporting from, I believe it's On3 Sports, Pete Naxos, one of their national recruiting insiders, he has reported that Jackson Cantwell, there are 3 teams that have moved to the forefront of his recruitment are the University of Miami, the University of Oregon, and the University of Georgia. He still plans to take all of those other official visits. He lives in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, Nixon, Missouri. And so he's going, to the home state team or school or whatever. Michigan and Ohio State also there. I know Michigan thought that they were trending up in terms because they have Larry Ellison, who's a billionaire, who, got my cousin Bryce Underwood, the quarterback, the number one player in last class, with a crazy NIL deal. So they have, Michigan men and everything and unlimited funds pretty much. So they're like, well, they thought that they were going maybe last week before, that they were trending up for him. But again, according to reporting elsewhere, it's Miami versus Georgia versus Oregon, really starting to create some distance for Jackson Cantwell. To me, I mean, first of all, it's a great thing that, Jackson Cantwell, what he has said previously about his visits to Miami, his connection to the staff, and why he likes Miami is being backed up by this other reporting, talking about their development and recruitment on offensive line, putting guys into the league, Mirabal and Cristobal running an offensive line centric program. So it's not just a afterthought, it's the center of the operations. And then you have a guy of this caliber at that, center is really great. Also, as well, in addition, if you look at Jackson Cantwell's official visit list, the first visit he is slated to take on May 9th is to Miami, which is 3 weeks before any other official visit is scheduled. When I first saw the schedule come out for his official visits, I was very taken aback by that. I was really a little worried because you kind of have to balance. Do you want to be the first person to get, or the first team to get him on campus, or do you want to be the last one before a decision? But by having this now, by his own words and this On3 report of the timeline maybe shifting up and not going all the way through summer, and now Miami is standing alone way out in front in terms of chronology of when these visits happen, I could see a world where that is really beneficial for Miami. I'm not going to say anything past that. I'm not making any projections, or anything else. But it just logically, to me, going through it, if the guy is saying, hey, I'm probably going to decide earlier than I thought I was, and Miami is way 3 weeks out in front of any other official visit, I could see how that synergy could be beneficial for Miami.
So we discussed last week how my entire life is filled with anxiety.
Yes.
And when he comes down to visit in May, if he leaves here and I don't see a D-train bat signal about a commitment, I'm going to start to freak out because him going to other campuses gives him the opportunity to compare and contrast and make a different decision. On the other hand, I think, listen, again, we can't call this one. We don't know, but he certainly does have an affinity for what is happening at Miami. His parents do have the connection to Miami. Miami, I think, is in a good spot. All signs point to Miami being in a good place as opposed to being in a bad place, right? So that's all we know at this point. But again, with him visiting here first, you'd like to wrap up any kind of, you like to answer any question there may be at that visit, and hopefully there is a commitment after that. And if there's not, I'll go hide in a corner.
Well, the other thing is, even if it's not public, you can be very confident in the room. There are the same things, there are silent commits and things like that. There are things that happen behind the scenes. And as you were talking about that, all I will say is I looked up the list of official visits, and it is a month between Miami and Georgia, and then another 2 weeks from Georgia to Oregon.
By the way, I've seen more than one silent commitment turn into sorry, I'm going somewhere else.
When I was really, really heavy in these recruiting streets, there was someone who would know type of person who was never wrong when they were like, hey, Cam, insert thing. And I went with that 1 year with my signing day predictions for this one specific player, and they ended up going somewhere else. And I was like, buddy, what? So then I'm talking to my friends who work in the industry and, work in these things. And then someone who continues to work in the industry in a very public, very known quantity or person in the recruiting world that I'm friends with. He was like, I know why you would say that, because you were told that he told Miami he was coming, this player. That player told 6 teams he was coming.
That he was coming, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you heard from the one that you're associated with. And I get that. You wouldn't have sources at all these that, like, know you personally. But the one here told you. So I get why you believed that. But being a, person who regionally or nationally covers it, I've heard from all the people at all the different schools. So that same player said, so I get it. I understand. I'm not trying to limit that. But yeah, there is a good amount of time between Miami's visit, official, Georgia and Oregon, the 3 teams that, again, from the reporting, are trending to the top of his recruitment, with, the Missouri, State, Michigan sprinkled on in between. But yeah, getting that good foot, that best foot out there. I will say that official visit weekend, if it lines up as it is listed right now, the only exclusive player who will be visiting on the weekend of May the 9th is Jackson Cantwell. So the attention will not be split. You have everyone's singular, undivided attention and focus, Mr. Cantwell, and they are going to do everything to roll out the red carpet and then some. So very excited for that, and we'll see how it goes. Miami is going to go down, going to do the absolute utmost to get him, and I'm excited to see how that goes.
Listen, I could only imagine the full court press that happens if you're the only recruit in on a weekend. That would be unbelievable.
I mean, look, the defensive coaches are going to be over there, like the analysts,
everyone,
everybody. Yeah. Because even if I coach, if I'm Zach Etheridge and Will Hill, right, and I coach secondary, you on the offense make my job easier. So I want to oh yeah.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall. All right. Another story which you wrote about on stateoftheu.com. You guys can go read the article right now. We had a flip a couple of days ago from Georgia to Miami. Jontavius Wyman. And at this point, by the way, I'm pretty sure the staff at Georgia and Uga himself are pretty pissed at Miami because we keep pulling players out of the state of Georgia. But tell us about this, the 4-star DB Jontavius Wyman out of Jonesboro.
Yeah, man. We've gone toe-to-toe with them and been successful. Not always. They got Elijah Griffin, unfortunately. I really wanted him on the defensive line. But we've done our dollar up there in Georgia. So going back to the Atlanta area, Jonesboro High School, Jontavius Wyman, a dynamic, sudden athlete. He's about 6 feet, 170 pounds with a positive wingspan. This is a guy who plays in, all 3 phases of the game. He plays offense, defense, and on returns. He is quick. He is fast. He is skilled in terms of coverage, in terms of movement. He is just a fluid mover. And yeah, he has sudden athleticism that we rarely see on this team, to be perfectly honest. So he actually has 2 full highlights. I put both of them in the Welcome to the UP, so up on stateoftheu.com right now, where his first one is offense and returns with 1 defensive snap, and it's the first defensive snap that's on his defensive highlight, which is on there also. This kid moves. You should be very excited. Like, he is fast. He is strong through contact in a way that I didn't expect. There's multiple plays of guys getting their hands on him, and he doesn't go down. Like, he spins out of tackles. He runs through, not just arm tackles, but guys have their hands on him. And again, he's only 6 foot, 170 pounds. So you would figure a big linebacker, defensive end kind of guy. Nah, he spins out of that, and he's quick in a phone booth. There's a couple of plays on his highlight where you see him at about the 10-15 yard line, and there are 5 defenders between him and the end zone, and he goes to score. Like, yeah, go check it out, man. Like, he's the kind of athlete that we haven't had at corner in a while. Like, we've had good players at corner, but of moderate to slightly above average athleticism. This is a dynamic athlete at that position. The likes, you're talking Corn Elder, Philip Buchanan, being the last
I
guys
was gonna ask you about comps. So there we go.
Just in terms of their athleticism, you know, because like a Michael Jackson and a DJ Ivy and a Tyreek Stevenson, they're good players, but they're not preternatural athletes. They don't have the sudden athleticism that Jontavius Wyman has, right? So, sorry, excuse me. He offers a lot. You know, I think that he's a guy who can and should factor into the return game. He does that very, very well. He is fast. He outruns angles. He finds ways to get in and through space. Again, even through contact, which there's a punt return on his offensive highlight. He gets caught by a guy around he's returning from his own 30, runs up the middle, gets just across half field, gets caught by a guy, spins out of that one, runs into two other dudes, bounces off of them, loops around, and then outruns two dudes with the angle to the corner. Like so you have the power, the contact balance, and then the sudden athleticism to get out there, and then the acceleration to put that speed to good use within 2 or 3 steps, not taking forever to get going. So in a lot of different ways, man, he has the athleticism that we need. He plays corner very well. He baited a couple of quarterbacks into interceptions on the first play of his defensive highlight. Second play, sorry, which you'll see. No, it's the first play, which you'll see again when you go and you watch it, because I embedded the video there, so you don't even have to go look it up.
By the way, I will link to the article where you embedded all that stuff in the description.
Please, yeah. So send them that way, and you'll see it. I put the offensive one, and then this one play is the 8th of 9 plays that. Well, there's more than that, but it's the 8th play on the offensive highlight. The main thing I saw there was communication, because he's playing zone, and they're running a shallow crosser from the receiver that he's guarding, Wyman, and you can't really see it. You have to look closely because it's his left hand, and like his body blocks it as he's pointing towards the top side of the screen. But he's calling out, "Hey, over there, you got him. I'm giving this crosser to you." And then they exchange the over route from the other side, and since there's nobody holding him close to the line, he's just playing cover 2. He sinks back because why not? And then the quarterback throws him the interception because there's a proper kind of communication. And I cite that because the communication in the secondary for Miami last year was atrocious. They were pointing all over the place. You got him, I take him, no, and then guys just running wide open. But then you see somebody from the high school level who knows what they're doing. They know the entire structure of the defense enough to say, "Hey, Brian, you got him, I got yours," because they're crossing, right? And then you'll see that defender that he's passing to, he runs with his guy for 2 steps and says, "Okay," and then the receiver coming across, he goes back the other way, and then it runs into Wyman. Like it's a beautiful play, well done. And there's way more than that. So, you know, on both of those videos, and please go check those out. So that's the kind of athlete, that's the kind of player that we're getting. And this is a player that Georgia wanted to keep in their class. I know that we do our own evaluations. I know that we value what we have, you know, in terms of recruiting, and don't worry about what anybody else has. But Georgia's been one of the top 3 recruiting teams for a good long time for a good reason. They got Jontavius Wyman. They wanted to keep Jontavius Wyman. And we went over there and said, "Nah, thanks. Let me go get that." If that doesn't make you excited for the kind of player that Miami has in Jontavius Wyman, I don't know what else to tell you. But that's the short story long on the commitment and the flip from Jontavius Wyman, which happened last Saturday as I was not napping, but I was otherwise occupied. And then you can read about that and plenty more on SaveTheU.com.
Yeah, you can. So go check out all the great stuff at SaveTheU.com. Open 24/7, 365, and it's free. Cam and the staff do a good job, and we will link to that in the description. Hey, everyone, enjoy the spring game. Hopefully it's not too hot. Like, hopefully, like, we're not frying, but you know, we'll deal with it. It's fine. And we'll see what we can see. We'll see if any of our guys that we picked out come to play. We'll see how that goes. Cam, I look forward to seeing you down there, and I look forward to recapping it with you next week. All right.
Absolutely. You got a nice sun hat to, you know, because we have the lack of follicular deflection anymore.
Yeah,
so,
no, I will.
These are things we have to consider.
I will figure something out to cover my bald dome because I don't need to scorch my up top earth at all. Yeah.
I've been there. It's very, very bad. Also, one time I went over to Marco Island and I was reading on the white sand beach with no sunglasses, and I burned the white of my eyes, which is one of the most painful things I've ever done in my life. So don't ever do that.
Duly noted. On that note, we will see you next time right here on the Real Ones Canes podcast. Peace.